Clair Obscur Expedition 33 did not revive the genre, turn-based RPGs, JRPGs, that style, or anything. Now, this is not a hate video on Expedition 33, which I'm going to call it from this point on. Not a hate video at all. I actually played the game fully through, pretty much did everything in the game overall, and I think it's fantastic. I think it's one of the best games of 2025. It's on track to win Game of the Year at the Keeley Awards. It's currently my Game of the Year or front runner. I do have Donkey Kong Bonanza and a couple other games I'm looking at too, but Clair Obscur is easily one of the better games when it comes to a turn-based title in the last number of years. It's really good, and I like it a lot. It's got great gameplay, great graphics, great sound design. The music is fantastic. The story is absolutely incredible. There's so many good things about this game that make it great, and it earned and deserved its sales and its high review scores and its potential or probable Game of the Year nominations, and of course winning Game of the Year. Like, it deserves all of that. It really is incredible overall. There's a few different things that we'll talk about that maybe isn't necessarily the best when you're talking about the best of turn-based games, but for their first outing from a smaller team, this is definitely incredible. So I'm not here to take away from that team's success and what they were able to do. It really was incredible. And I'm all for getting new people to play turn-based games and all of that. But that doesn't mean the genre overall. Just because there's new people coming in, just because it sold well, just because it reviewed really good, and there are people out there that are talking about how great it was and they haven't played an RPG or a turn-based game since this or that, or JRPG since this or that, that doesn't mean it revived everything and we had this dead genre, or turn-based games were bad, or turn-based games haven't done anything and there wasn't any recognition, and all of a sudden this game comes out of nowhere and revives everything. That didn't actually happen overall when it comes to the industry itself. Now, maybe for some people, but when it comes to the industry and the facts out there, it didn't happen. I think it's a bit silly, and allow me to explain more why. So, turn-based RPGs or JRPGs weren't dead. They just weren't. We had Persona 5 back in 2017. That's when that game came out, and it was a Game of the Year nominee. It was a huge game. People really liked it. And I can admit, around that time, there was a rough stretch of JRPGs when it comes to console games. Now, the portables were dealing. 3DS and all that, they were getting some awesome stuff. But when it came to home consoles, there was definitely some issues. We did not have what we needed to have when it comes to the quality and when it comes to the size of these games. There was a few different things that was great, but it definitely could have been better. But since then, it has been great. There has been bangers after bangers, and this is just the short list of things. But Shin Megami Tensei 5, Dragon Quest 11S, and then the Definitive Edition, Metaphor ReFantazio, which we'll talk about in just a bit, Pokemon Legends Arceus, Fire Emblem Three Houses, Fire Emblem Engage, Yakuza Like a Dragon plus Yakuza Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, Persona 3 Reload, Super Mario RPG Remake, and Thousand Year Door, Trails in the Sky First Chapter, and many other titles. This narrative that Clair Obscur kind of came out of nowhere and revived everything because this genre was dying and there was no good games is just simply not true based on any type of metric that you look at when it comes to, okay, did this revive it? You can go back and look in 2017, how many great 80 plus or 85 plus RPGs were there out there when it comes to JRPGs or turn-based games, and there wasn't as much as there are now. Since 2017, since Persona 5 came out, there's a lot more now at this point than around the time that Persona 5 came out. And I think that part of that was because Final Fantasy 13 Trilogy, that necessarily did not garner the attention that maybe Square Enix would have wanted. And the fact that the sales of the Final Fantasy 13 Trilogy was declining each time. It got worse and worse when it comes to the review score overall, especially with Lightning Returns. That did not review well. So I think that there was issues there, and Nintendo was still doing mainly 3DS RPGs and had not started doing on console. We didn't get as many Switch, or more like Wii U and Switch did not have a ton of JRPGs built for those systems at that time. Now, obviously, since then with the Switch, it's been great. And then, of course, leading into the Switch 2, it's going to be good as well. But that's the situation. There was no dire sales or bad review score situation when Expedition 33 came out with turn-based or JRPG games. The games have been reviewing incredible. We've had Game of the Year nominees / almost Game of the Year winners, and even actual Game of the Year winners. When it comes to Metaphor Refantasio, that game just came out at the very end of last year, and it actually won Game of the Year from IGN, GameSpot, and a number of other outlets. But if you look at everything that Metaphor Refantasio does as a hybrid action / turn-based RPG, but mainly is a turn-based RPG overall, man, it really does a lot of incredible things, and it got incredible scores. It actually has a higher review score than Expedition 33. So when I see stuff like that, and now I see people trying to say that Expedition 33 somehow revived the genre, or it did this or it did that within the genre, and man, things were just so bad, and then all of a sudden this game came out, not everyone's going to be playing turn-based or JRPGs. I just don't see that to be a truthful or thing that's actually happening. What I do think happened is that Expedition 33 has a different graphical style. It has a different tone compared to the aesthetics of an anime style or something that you usually see from Japan. And it has a very, very compelling and great story. I think that's what Expedition 33 is. You can take Expedition 33 and make it an action game, or you can make it a different type of game. And with that setting, with that story, with that style, with those developers, they probably could have got really good review scores in any type of area they wanted to go. Because if you compare it as a turn-based RPG, which it's cool, and I love the parry system and all that, but it's shallow compared to the best or the top of the top in the turn-based RPG genre. If you look at Persona 5 Royal, for example, and what you can do in that game as a turn-based RPG with strategy and different things, it is significantly more expanded in terms of options and what you have available, which makes sense, by the way, because these guys have been building upon these types of games for a long time. So I'm not sitting there and saying that the developers had to be as good as that, but I'm just saying as a turn-based RPG, it's not like Expedition 33 came in and blew away everybody with their mechanics and with their depth and with what they can do. Now, the gameplay is very fun. It's a very cool and interesting hook when it comes to parrying content, and it depends whether you want to sit there and have to parry all day compared to actually having the strategy of different types of enemies or demons that you have to use, like in Persona or Shin Megami Tensei, or even in Metaphor Refantasio, with the amount of classes that you have that sheerly outnumber all of what Clair Obscur has. If you look at the sheer amount of classes and what you can do in that game, or even like a Fire Emblem game with the amount of classes that you have, or even like a Pokemon Legends Arceus and the amount of Pokemon there, or even Dragon Quest with just so much stuff that you can do in those games, because those games are built to be super longer games with a lot more content in them compared to what you can do in Expedition 33, which is simply based off of a really interesting system where you can kind of modify things, make it broken, kind of lean more into certain powers or different type of stuff, but doesn't have a ton of classes or range outside of what you traditionally see in a turn-based RPG. So I do think that they kind of attacked the combat a bit differently, but they made the most of the time and the manpower that they had. And I think that's what Expedition 33 does really, really well, is that they don't have the manpower to create all these different mechanics and systems that we would see in a Metaphor or that we would see in a Persona or Fire Emblem, but they were able to maximize what they did have to create some pretty interesting styles of play and unique things, and kind of mixing it up with the systems that they do have. But if you're just comparing it, once again, it's one of those things to where, to me, if something revives something, you've got bad scores from previous games, you've got uninteresting gameplay, you've got games that aren't living up to expectations when it comes to potentially getting nominated for Game of the Year, or getting the review scores or selling well, and then all of a sudden a game like Persona 5 comes out for consoles and it says, okay, we're back, and it sells really good and it reviews really good and it's nominated for Game of the Year, and there's all these different things and stuff that falls into place. That's not the case here with Expedition 33. It's just not. Like I said before, it's not the case here at all. We've had great games. We've had Metaphor, like I said, that just recently came out. We've had Fire Emblem. We've had Infinite Wealth. We've had Persona 3 Reload. We've had so many great RPGs, turn-based games in the last number of years that have reviewed and sold well. So to me, there is no Expedition 33 coming in and saving the genre. Now, all of a sudden, there's going to be tens of millions of new people playing turn-based games, or all these older games are going to get some type of massive boost from these people that played Expedition 33. Now, don't get me wrong. Are there probably some people coming over and playing it? Sure. Why not? There probably are. But I do think that Expedition 33 kind of has its own style, and it has its own kind of base that like that. It's almost somewhat like Pokemon, to where, yes, Pokemon is incredibly successful. It is huge, but there's a lot of people that just like that one when it comes down to it. Still a turn-based RPG, still great in everything, but there's a lot of people that just like that. And just because they like Pokemon and that turn-based RPG doesn't mean they're all of a sudden going to go play Persona 3 Reload and play Shin Megami Tensei and play everything, and all those games are going to sell like crazy too. So to me, Expedition 33 fits in. It's just another game in the line of other great games, but just done in a little bit of a different style. Obviously not a Japanese developer, and they did something that really captivated a lot of people and got them to enjoy the game. But I think it pretty much just stops right there. It's an incredible game. It's a great turn-based title, and it kind of just slots in as another one to also put in the line of other great games. Now, I'm playing another game right now that's a hybrid system, and it's called Trails in the Sky First Chapter, and that game is incredible. It does so many good things, and it was an older game and they remade it, but then they added a bunch of stuff to it, the new system as well. It is phenomenal, and there is a ton of different combat mechanics and different things that you can do that blends in stuff from like Metaphor Refantasio to Xenoblade, and it is phenomenal. And there's a lot of things when it comes to the combat in that game and what you can do that I feel is much better than Expedition 33 overall, and it reviewed really good as well. And I feel this also needs to be said, that the developers of Expedition 33 looked into all of these classic JRPGs to get inspiration for their game. They revere these games, they respect them, they talk to the developers when they can. Expedition 33 was made as a love letter to a lot of the other JRPGs and turn-based games out there. It wasn't made for people to sit there and say everything else sucks and it revives something that was dead. They used all of these incredible games to create their own personal dream game. So it makes zero sense for anyone to sit there and disrespect all of these other great games that have reviewed and done well to prop up Expedition 33 as some revolution that saved everything, when no, it's just another great game in the line of awesome turn-based RPGs out there. We've had incredible RPGs and turn-based games beforehand that reviewed well and did well. We've had it after Expedition 33. So to me, it's just another great game. It did not revive or save anything, but I do think that it does deserve the praise that people are giving it. So that is my take overall with Expedition 33 and this whole talk about reviving a genre or not. So what do you guys think overall about what I had to say here? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you are someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch 2 RPG content and more right here on screen. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.